Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast, The Emotional People. In this episode, I want to deep dive into a very important aspect which has a direct relation to emotions. It is something you can call it an art, you can call it an exercise, but it's very impactful, and that is yoga. Yes, we are going to talk about the connections of yoga with emotions. But before that, let me ask, have any one of you been regularly practicing yoga, and during that time have you any time felt emotional during yoga or maybe after yoga? I will explain why, but before that let me talk first in detail to you about the body-mind connection and the importance of yoga for each one of us, and then come back to why that is related to your emotional well-being. So, in yogic terms, there is no separation between a mind, body and spirit. The three exist as a union, and what happens to the mind also happens to the body and spirit. In other words, if something is bothering you spiritually, emotionally or mentally, it is likely to show up in your body. And as you work deeply with your body in yoga, emotional issues will likely to come to the fore. Our emotional tensions and traumas are often woven into physical tension and pain. During yoga practices, we begin to unravel muscular tension, and this process can also release the associated emotions bound in our muscles. Though our yoga practices strengthen physical, mental and emotional bodies, it also increases our capacity to process difficult emotions and past traumas. Yogis believe that we were born whole, but due to various life experiences, we forgot this state of wholeness or who we really are. In the yogic view, we all hold within our bodies emotions and misguided thoughts that keep us from reaching samadhi, defined by some as conscious enlightenment. Any sense of unease or disease in the body keeps us from reaching and experiencing this state. Hence, asanas are one path to blissful contentment, working to bring us closer by focusing our minds and releasing any emotional or inner tension in our bodies. Though the ancient yogis understood that emotional turmoil is carried in the mind, the body and the spirit, unfortunately, Western medicine had been slow to accept this. But new research has verified empirically that the mental and the emotional conditions can affect the state of the physical body, and the mind-body connection is real. The holistic system of yoga was designed so that the emotional breakthrough can occur safely, says John Shivarpita Harrigan, PhD, a psychologist and the director of Patanjali Kundalini Yoga Care in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it says, yoga is not merely an athletic system, it's a spiritual system. The asanas are designed to offer the subtle body of the purpose of spiritual transformation. People enter into the practice of yogasana for physical fitness or physical health, or even because they have heard it's good for relaxation. But ultimately, the purpose of yoga practice is spiritual development. In another thought by Amy Weintraub, a Kripalu yoga teacher and author of the book Yoga for Depression, a compassionate guide to relieve suffering through yoga, says some people disconnect early in life in response to inappropriate care from parents or caregivers. These people tend to carry their underlying grief in the tissues of body and develop lifelong symptoms of depression. Others, faced with some sort of trauma or loss, whether relatively small or something major like a natural disaster, maybe a terrorist incident or violent personal assault, develop post-traumatic stress disorder. And this syndrome can include symptoms of irritability, anxiety, detachment, or feeling emotionally numb or depressed, along with the physical tension and difficult sleeping. Then there are dozens of difficult emotions we feel every day in response to living in this fast-paced, stressful culture. Fortunately, regardless of whether a mood is a lifetime issue or a response to the current situation, yoga includes asanas like pranayama or meditation that can help us to regain our sense of connectedness to self. Let me in this context give you some details of how exactly yoga works. Anyone here listening and who has practiced yoga can attest to the fact that asanas combined with deep breathing can make us feel better. Recently, scientists have been uncovering the biological reactions responsible for this enhanced mood. So, scientifically, our bodies react to stress and trauma by activating the sympathetic nervous system, which we discussed earlier, also known as the fight or flight response. Blood rushes to our extremities and our heart rate, blood pressure and respiratory rates increase. Concurrently, the blood flow to our digestive tract slows down. Under normal circumstances, once the danger has passed, our body returns to the state of balance. But faced with chronic stress, our body gets stuck in the fight or flight mode, gradually wearing down our system, which can lead to chronic anxiety, depression and even physical illness. Studies have shown that doing yoga activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering the heart rate, respiratory rate and blood pressure. Cortisol levels drop, the hormone that gets secreted by the adrenal glands in response to stress. Those levels drop, and the pituitary glands even secretes oxytocin and prolactin, the cuddle hormones responsible for the feeling of love. And certain yogic breathing exercises also stimulate the vagus nerve, which is known for the treatment of depression. Going further deep in yogic model, there are two primary reasons for people to remain stuck in negative emotions. As per yoga, the first is the samskaras or the karmic knots that develop in response to each trauma or loss. Performing asanas while focusing on the breath helps release the karmic knots, freeing our emotions and the related tension in our body. The second being the lack of prana or the vital force in the system. When our prana is low due to stress, overwork or simply living in a crowded area, we tend to feel sluggish. Doing yoga with attention to the breath expands the lungs, brings in more prana, creates a state of mental alertness and calming the body. Studies have also shown that doing yoga regularly results in intrinsic spiritual experiences, which has been associated with better mental health. Hence, meditation practices along with yoga have always proven to be fruitful in dealing with stressful emotions. And meditation practices found in both Buddhism and yoga also calm the mind and cultivate a safe witness. This ability to witness our thought patterns and emotions allow us to gradually develop different reactions to life situations and realize that while negative emotions may not be pleasant, ultimately they are not who we are. Studies have even shown that the meditation techniques actually activate a specific part of the brain, the left prefrontal cortex, known as the happy side of the brain, and which we had spoken, which I had given detail in one of the previous episodes, how exactly the left prefrontal cortex works. And yoga has to play a very vital role there in the release of the happy chemicals, which keeps us stress-free and peaceful. So, this is all the advantages, the benefits of yoga and the way it can help in dealing with one's decluttering or de-stressing emotions and release it to lead a balanced life. Hence, I would say as part of this video or this audio, if you're listening to me, that yoga is a very important and vital aspect of overall well-being and in especially emotional well-being. Okay, I hope this was a value add to you and you got some more information and you got to learn, and you will continue to practice if you are practicing. Else, start the habit of doing some yogasanas every day to lead an emotional, happy and a successful life. Thank you for listening and see you again soon. Good day.